So much TV is rubbish these days. Every time I give it a chance, I end up watching something absolutely awful or absolutely insane, sometimes even both. This is the last chance I'm ever giving TV. This better be good. Welcome everyone to Things You Don't Need with May I Suck You Off. I'm your host, May I Suck You Off, and I'm here with a very special guest, Ferdinand from New Zealand. Thank you, May. I'm here to demonstrate my brand new invention, the self-emptying vacuum cleaner. We all know how annoying it is to have to empty your vacuum cleaner after you use it. This invention empties the vacuumed up filth onto the floor as you're vacuuming, making your life a lot easier. We're currently selling them for $4,600 plus a $120 per month subscription fee to guarantee 5-star service. The stars also cost $80 each, but if you call now, you'll get them for only $90 each. I wonder how many stay-at-home mums are gonna buy that. I would. If there's anything that will seduce me, it's a Kiwi accent. Come on, Bingle Rat. I'm 4 years old. That means it's time for me to wander out into the world all on my own and force my pets to fight against the pets of other people. We will become the ultimate killers of other people's pets. We might even get harassed and kidnapped by a team of adult pet thieves. What do you say, Bingle Rat? Wanna go on an adventure? Bingle, bingle! I can't believe this slop was ever popular. What were we doing as kids? Einen schönen guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. Und jetzt der Schnee von gestern. Eine Frau habe sich im Supermarkt die Klamotten ausgezogen und sei in den Kühlschrank gestiegen. Viele Zuschauer wurden von der komischen Szene verwirrt. Manche von denen glauben, dass die Frau unter schlechter psychischer Gesundheit leidet. Andere, dass sie nur die Aufmerksamkeit der Öffentlichkeit erregen wollte. Vielleicht ist sie einfach süchtig nach Milch. Wer weiß, aber eines steht fest. Die alten Männer hätten bestimmt den Anblick genossen. Well, at least it's not another fire or a car crash. When Sly 3 sticks to the main gameplay, it's really good. But it's not happening enough, and it makes it harder to enjoy. Nah, I'm not watching this crap. I guess it's back to old reliable. Gex! Where the bloody hell are ya? Last time on Gex, I explored the world of Gex Enter the Gecko, which I was almost certain was called Gex 2, but it turns out it isn't. Everything we know is a lie. Enter the Gecko took Gex into a brand new dimension, 3D. And by new dimension, I mean a new dimension for Gex. It's not new for us. Humanity has been living in 3D for at least 10 years. It was a fun game. The levels and their themes were cool, the platforming was pretty good, the music was great. I don't think there was anything outright bad about it. The only major problem was that it felt so similar to the first game. Obviously they were different, the first Gex was a side-scroller, but even despite that, Gexes 1 and 2 felt the same. They had very similar level themes, stories, and personalities. It basically felt like Enter the Gecko was a 3D reimagining of the first game. It ended up being a good game, but I was still slightly disappointed because of that. But now we're up to Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko. Gex 3 was the reason I started this journey through the Gex series in the first place. It's the only one I played as a kid, and my only memory of it was giving up at the Sherlock Holmes level because I was too scared of the bear that was roaming the lobby. It terrified me, but now I'm a big strong man with the body hair to prove it. I can take this childhood trauma head on and finally see what Gex 3 is all about. I could actually prepare myself very well for it using the 100% unofficial complete PlayStation Solutions magazine issue 11 from September-October 1999. That I have for some reason, but while it would be helpful to consult Australia and New Zealand's, quote, only source of cheats and play guides, unquote, I'm man enough to go in alone. I don't need the help of this relic from the past. Remember the body hair. I'm a man, goddammit. So let's get stuck into Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko and kill that fucking bear. Unfortunately, I can't just up and kill the bear. I have to go through the opening first, so I may as well do that. I'm gonna play the whole game after all. It's about the journey, not the destination. Or something like that. So let's crack on with the opening. The game begins with a very brief cutscene cutting right to the chase. Rez has kidnapped Secret Agent Extra and trapped her in the media dimension to try and get at Gex, and it's Gex's job to try and get her back out. These two characters clearly have some kind of relationship in history, as seen through their many interactions through video calls, even though Pussy Galore here is supposed to be Rez's prisoner. Their interactions make Gex 3 noticeably hornier than the first two games, which might not be for everyone, but at least it makes Gex feel more like a character than a random pop culture reference generator. With his objective clear, Gex heads back into the media dimension for a third time to rescue Agent Extra and defeat Rez once and for all. Again. Off we go! The first level in the game is Totally Scrooged, which I thought was a pretty good introductory level. In it, you can clearly see that the game is sticking with the formula of Enter the Gecko. You play as Gex in a 3D environment, running around, jumping and tail bouncing, tail whacking and wall climbing your way around in pursuit of remotes. These remotes can be earned by completing certain objectives, which are usually pretty simple and straightforward things like destroying an amount of a particular object, defeating a specific enemy, or just some good old-fashioned platforming. Totally Scrooged was great for getting eased into this. I really enjoyed this level. I'm not sure mildly evil Christmas counts as a TV genre, but as a level, I thought it was pretty good. In terms of objectives as well as level structure, I liked it. I'm willing to say it was better than the early levels from Enter the Gecko. It had room to explore and some fun objectives, even if it took me a while to figure out how to kill Santa. It was a good sign for what was to come. But more importantly, I've reached the Sherlock Holmes level. I can finally overcome this childhood fear and put these nightmares to rest. Yeah! Feels good. Now I can finally enjoy this level for what it is. And honestly, just like Totally Scrooged, Clueless in Seattle is a whopper level. Not only is the theme great and the music catchy, the gameplay is top notch too. It's got some cool objectives with the hedge maze and the mini challenges. It even incorporated a Dracula costume with the ability for Gex to glide like he's Spyro. It was a great level, and I love that the level is laid out like an actual manor with lobbies and a kitchen and a pool and such. It makes it feel more like a place. Sometimes in 3D platformers, levels can just feel like rooms with a thematic texture stuck on the walls, but Clueless in Seattle actually feels like a location. The presentation in Gex 3 is a massive upgrade over Enter the Gecko, I reckon. The problem I had with Enter the Gecko's presentation wasn't necessarily the presentation itself, rather the fact that it borrowed a lot of similar themes and locations from the first game. Both the first game and Enter the Gecko had horror levels and cartoon levels and kung fu levels, which led to them feeling like almost exactly the same game, with the only difference being that one of them was in 3D. Kinda like 3D glasses in the cinema. Same stuff, but now it looks deeper. But Gex 3 has not made that same mistake. Gex 3 is made up of entirely new level themes. Some are a bit of a stretch. I don't think Christmas, Egyptian tomb, and mythology count as TV genres. I would have preferred a Seinfeld level, or a Peppa Pig level, or a Gordon Ramsay level. But things like crime, superheroes, and fairy tales definitely do count as TV genres, and I'm happy with those inclusions. The levels are all pretty varied, the level structure complements the themes, and they've all got great music as well. What's also great is that the levels don't double up on themes. Each level has its own distinct theme, unlike the previous games where there were multiple levels with the same theme. Even the hub world is more interesting. This all helps Gex 3's levels feel a bit more special. Gex even wears a unique costume for every level. It was great. I was very impressed with the presentation. The stuff you see in these levels is better than most of the slop you see on modern TV, without a doubt. But in terms of the gameplay, I wasn't that impressed. I'll be honest, a lot of it felt like more of the same. Gex controls very similarly to how he did in Enter the Gecko, and he controls fine. I don't remember his turning circle being as wide as it is here, and his jumps did sometimes feel a bit unreliable, especially when he decided that he just wouldn't jump at all, instead opting for dropping like a sack of shit. But beyond that, he's fine. The levels are also built around his natural abilities pretty well. But there isn't a whole lot in this game that builds upon the foundation laid by Enter the Gecko. It feels pretty much the same. The only real addition in this game is a few costumes and powers. I already mentioned the Dracula costume that allows Gex to glide, there's the Hercules costume that grants super strength, there's a superhero costume that allows Gex to glide, there's a superhero costume that grants super strength, there's a Red Riding Hood costume that allows Gex to glide. How did they come up with so many unique ideas? There are also flies that Gex can consume to gain the power of burning things and freezing things temporarily. But that's sort of it. These are minor extensions on Gex's standard gameplay, and while they do add an extra layer to the whole shebang, it doesn't change much. There are some levels that play with unique ideas, like the war level with its turrets, but other than that, Gex 3 doesn't feel like an evolution. It was great, but it still just feels like more of the same. There are also a few vehicles like the snowboard and the donkey, and they're alright as far as vehicles go, but they don't add a whole lot either. The further into the game I got, the less fun it all became. I didn't feel hooked like I did with the first two levels. It started to get a little stale? Nothing was really calling out to me, making me want to play more. Add to that the fact that Gex 3 has fewer levels in it and is generally a shorter game than Enter the Gecko, you start to wonder what the point even is. I don't know how the 100% unofficial complete PlayStation Solutions magazine issue 11 from September-October 1999 managed to drag out its guide for 11 whole pages. The guide feels longer than the game. The point is obviously to have fun, and Gex 3 is fun, even if it doesn't make much of an effort to be more fun than the previous game. But it did carry on the one annoying trait that Enter the Gecko and a lot of other 3D platformers like this have. and that's booting you out of a level after you collect a main collectible. It's so annoying, and slows your progress down immensely. In Enter the Gecko it wasn't that bad because each level only has a few remotes and the objectives for them are pretty short and snappy. Gex 3 is the same, but it still isn't really necessary. It's not like the objectives change the actual layout and functions of the level, it's the same for every objective. It didn't annoy me until I got to Cut Cheese Island, which is the most linear level in the game. The first remote requires you to make it through this platforming section and stops when you reach the remote. The second and third remotes require you to do the same platforming section again, only this time you need to keep going further into the level. Nothing's changed, you're just forced to do it again because the level kicked you out. What's the point of that? To drag out my playtime? To advertise that the game is longer than it already is? The 100% unofficial complete PlayStation Solutions magazine issue 11 from September-October 1999 didn't warn me about that, mainly because I didn't read it, but still. And besides, it's not like you can't pick one remote but collect a completely unrelated remote. Selecting the remote when you enter a level has no impact on the level itself. You can go after whichever one you want, regardless of which one you select, rendering that whole process pointless. There's no reason to select remotes and no reason to kick you out. It's just annoying. It's only a little bit annoying, but a little bit annoying is still annoying. The game ends with what is admittedly a very pathetic boss against Rez. The boss fights across the whole game do suck pretty bad. I like the Wizard of Oz one, but the other two are pretty lame. Especially Rez, since he's the main antagonist and has been for the whole series. But it feels like he's not even trying now. The 100% unofficial complete PlayStation Solutions magazine issue 11 from September-October 1999 could barely manage to write a paragraph about him. Agent Extra feels like more of a villain, to be honest, since she's the one who dragged Gex into this mess in the first place. The game concludes with Gex and Agent Extra fucking the daylights out of each other. I did say this game was hornier than the others. I don't even know how a gecko would fuck a human, given the size difference. I guess it would just climb inside and wriggle around. It's left me with a bit of a weird taste in my mouth. Not the gecko fucking thing, I mean Gex 3. I liked Gex 3, I enjoyed my time with it, and I especially enjoyed killing that bear that's haunted me for so long. It felt like a massive weight was lifted off my shoulders. I found the levels to be enjoyable, the gameplay was fun, and the presentation was fantastic. But I don't think, as a whole experience, that Gex 3 is any better than Enter the Gecko. They feel just as good as each other. They both have good gameplay, they both have good levels, they both have good presentation. Enter the Gecko is longer, but Gex 3 has more interesting and unique level themes. They have their pros and cons, but largely, they're basically the same. I liked Gex 3 and I can sleep soundly knowing that that bear is burning in hell, but I didn't like the whole thing as much as I thought I would. But what if I've got it wrong? What if they're not basically the same? I need a second opinion. And who better to consult than the 100% unofficial complete PlayStation Solutions magazine, issue 11 from September-October 1999. What do they make of Gex 3? This is what they think, as written by Cam Shea, whoever that is. Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko, 4 out of 5 stars. He's back and he's as cool as ever. This is the third outing for Gex, and although very nice to look at and play, he would have earned 5 stars if it weren't so much like the last. What do you know? Validation! I'm not so stupid after all. Well, that's all folks, thank you and good night. Jesus Christ, that was bad. I'm never watching TV again.